Mega Evolution is an opportunity to breathe new life into forgotten Pokemon. Low Punny has always been pretty terrible, but Mega Low Punny is absolutely fantastic. An incredible upgrade that pushed Low Punny from completely unusable to one of the strongest Pokemon in OU. The same is true of Pinsir, a rather unremarkable bug type turned into a frightening wall breaker with its excellent new Mega. And even though Mega Beedrill is not quite at the level of OU viability, it's certainly much more powerful and distinct from the original Beedrill, who was just kind of terrible. But not all Mega Evolutions are like this. Some are quite disappointing, in fact. Why don't we take a look at some Mega Evolutions that completely missed the mark? Failing to improve the original Pokemon in a very noteworthy way, not being different enough from the original, or in some cases being worse than the original. Mega Audino is considered the worst Mega Evolution in the game, and is a complete disappointment. That is not even strictly better than its base form Pokemon, in some ways is worse. Mega Audino does have some pretty good stat increases, 126 in both defenses is nice, and it has become a normal fairy type, which is an improvement in the typing department. But bizarrely, Mega Audino can only have the ability Healer. And Healer is a pretty bad ability in my opinion. Completely useless in singles and not even that fantastic in doubles really. With Healer, you will have a 30% chance at the end of each turn to cure an adjacent ally's status condition. That's it. So it's only applicable in doubles, and even in doubles it's only a 30% chance to do so. Now base form Audino may not have the fairy typing, and it may not have the improved defensive stats, but it has the ability Regenerator available to it, which is just way better than Healer by an order of magnitude. Regenerator is one of the strongest defensive abilities in the whole game. Regenerator will restore 1/3 of your Pokemon's max HP every single time you switch out. This is the best form of healing in the game, and it is enough to make otherwise terrible Pokemon competitively viable. All Mega Audino had to do was just maintain Regenerator as the ability, and it probably would have been quite good. The normal fairy typing is workable. It has the great utility move pool that Audino has, and these stats would outdo many other Regenerator Pokemon. But instead they gave it Healer, which is basically like it having no ability at all, which is clearly terrible. This is a shame because Audino deserved a bit of an upgrade. It does have the powerful ability, but mono-normal typing has its drawbacks. It's very frail on the stat side. Not a bad candidate for a Mega at all, but unfortunately this one missed the mark completely. Up next is Mega Banette. Banette is a beautiful candidate for a new Mega Evolution. A neglected Pokemon. It was alright when it debuted in Gen 3, but it feels outdated now. So slow and so frail. Considered one of the weakest ghost types. To buff this with a Mega was a virtuous choice. And yet the Mega we ended up with was rather underwhelming, in my opinion. I say this as quite a Banette fanatic. I think the visual design of this is pretty cool, I will say. It went from a little puppet to some sort of great phantom that looks very frightening and imposing. Nice visual design. Unfortunately though, on the gameplay side, Mega Banette is awkward. Mega Banette inherits much of the frailty of base form Banette, with pretty terrible defenses still, and a speed set of only 75. Now it does have an excellent 165 base attack, and that does seem promising. This could be an effective wall breaker, but unfortunately, the physical attacking move pool on Mega Banette is limited. Very limited. Its best ghost type attack is Shadow Claw with only 70 power. It has Shadow Snake, which is a good priority option, but the real problem is a lack of any good physical coverage. Suppose this is a problem with Banette's base form as well. But beyond just physical ghost type attacks and knockoff, which has awkward overlap with Ghost anyway, there's not much else here. You have Gunk Shot, I suppose, for a poison type attack, but that's the peak of your possible coverage. That's not exactly complementary to Ghost either. So Mega Banette just feels way too one-dimensional and predictable to function well as a physical attacker with this new attack stat. I don't know if giving this guy a massive attack stat was the right choice, considering how shallow its physical move pool is. They also gave it a new ability upon Mega Evolving, which was Prankster, and it's a great ability that grants priority to non-attacking moves. But is this the Pokemon for Prankster exactly? Prankster is nice on utility Pokemon, but this seems to be designed as a physical attacker. It's not exactly a guy who's going to live hits and get a lot out of its utility options with Prankster. It does have cool choices like Prankster boosted Will-O-Wisp, with priority on it, and Destiny Bond. I believe this is the only Pokemon to get the combination of Prankster and Destiny Bond, which is cool. A nice way to trade with enemies, but inconsistent as well. The enemy has to play into this, and it doesn't make up for all your other shortcomings either. Perhaps if Mega Bennett had some other offensively oriented ability to make it so overwhelming with its ghost damage that it overcomes its shallow move pool, or I don't know, something else. Maybe if it was designed a different way to fill a different role that is better suited to its move pool it may have functioned, but Mega Bennett is unfortunately just not very good. It's one of the lower end megas, and a design that's really all over the place. They couldn't decide what this was. It's a physical wall breaker and a prankster utility Pokemon, but it doesn't have any attacks or utility or bulk. So you've given it all these things and it can't do any of them. The puppeteer who pulls the strings over at Game Freak has failed to give this puppet-themed Pokemon the flowers it deserves. And for that I am vengeful and furious. Try again in the next game. Where's Mega Bennett Z? You gave Mega Absol Z. Why does he get another Mega and Mega Bennett is stuck with this crap? Where's my 151 speed on Mega Bennett Plus? Give it close combat for goodness sake. Why does Lucario get an additional Mega when he already had one of the best ones? What has Bennett done to deserve you forsaking him for all these years? Just a dreadful turn of events for all involved. And Bennett will place a curse onto Game Freak headquarters for this slight. The Gen 1 starters all got new Megas in Gen 6. Mega Charizard got 2, both of them were amazing and competitive, Charizard X and Y. And Mega Venusaur also got a powerful Mega that was quite a formidable opponent in competitive. But one of these Megas missed out a little bit compared to its more accomplished brothers. Mega Blastoise is not nearly as competitively viable as the other two, which is quite a shame, because in the original starter trio, Blastoise also feels the most neglected. Venusaur had Chlorophyll in Gen 5, giving it power and value on Sun teams. Charizard has Solar Power as well, can be a wall breaker on Sun teams in certain gens. Whereas Blastoise sort of just has nothing. It has Rain Dish, it's outclassed by Tentacruel, who also has that. So Blastoise, of all the three starters, deserved more of a buff, and they gave it the worst of the three Megas too. How could they? Mega Blastoise has some okay stat increases. You can't complain too much about these stats. The defenses are very nice, and the special attack is 135, which is good. Clearly this is designed as a medium speed, bulky attacker. And they gave this the ability Mega Launcher, which is a pretty interesting ability that boosts the power of pulse-based attacks. Mega Blastoise does have some pulse-based attacks like Dark Pulse and Water Pulse, but this ability is not knocking anybody's socks off. A 1.5x boost to some attacks? I mean, extra damage on Dark Pulse is appreciated, but is that going to save this Pokemon from mediocrity? Not quite. I mean, compare Mega Blastoise to a contemporary in Gen 6 OU, Keldeo. Keldeo almost has as much special attack, a better water fighting typing, a stronger move pool, and it's way faster. And it doesn't require a Mega Stone either. If you can only have one Mega per team, why the hell would you use it on Mega Blastoise, who isn't even as good as a non-Mega? And in Gen 7, of course, you got a Greninja to contend with, who is also superior. The okay defenses of this Pokemon are not worth the valuable real estate of your team's only Mega slot. So Mega Blastoise is far from OU viability, and cannot join its Gen 1 brothers in the field, regrettably. I think it's a shame that such an iconic Gen 1 starter that many love received such an underwhelming new Mega. Now I will say that in Gen 9, Blastoise received the new option of Shell Smash, so theoretically if Blastoise Mega returns in the future, it will have Shell Smash. And with Shell Smash, this Pokemon could be a formidable foe indeed. In a single turn you could boost up and outrun almost everything and have enough offenses to win perhaps instantaneously off the back of a pretty incredible offensive move pool, as well as these pulse moves that are buffed further by Mega Launcher. In fact, in the National Dex tier, a unique Smogon tier where they allow everything from every generation, Mega Blastoise is banned because of the new option of Shell Smash that it received in Gen 9. Maybe in the future Mega Blastoise will be too powerful. I suppose we'll have to see if that ever comes into reality. Now, Garchomp is not a Pokemon that needed a buff from a new Mega. Garchomp in its base state was already excellent. But still, you would expect a Mega form for Garchomp to be extraordinarily powerful. a considerable buff to an already excellent Pokemon. And yet, Mega Garchomp is infamous for being quite a bit worse than its base form for various reasons. Mega Garchomp might not seem that bad when you look at it at first. It has some pretty incredible stat increases, most notably that 170 base attack stat, which is through the roof, far beyond what most legendaries even get. An enhanced special attack stat is pretty nice, and you even have a bit of defense now. But there's a massive problem with Mega Garchomp's new stat line, and that is its decreased speed stat. This may not seem like much of a decrease. Garchomp in its base state has 102 base speed, and Mega Garchomp has subtracted 10 points from its speed, now 92. But these 10 stats actually make a huge difference. One of Garchomp's greatest traits is its 102 base speed stat because it's just faster than a lot of common Pokemon. It is a great benchmark. A lot of Pokemon in competitive happen to be around the base 100 speed tier. It's just a common value that a lot of Pokemon have, like Zapdos and Salamence and Jirachi. Garchomp being just a little bit faster than base 100 makes a huge difference in so many situations. So losing that important speed benchmark is a big deal. You Mega Evolve and now you don't outrun as many common things. And in fact, they outrun you. Mega Garchomp's new ability is Sand Force, which grants 1.3x damage to ground, steel, and rock type attacks in the sand. Can be an okay ability in certain contexts, but it does require you to run a sand setter on the team to activate it, and generally if you're running a sand team like that, you'd rather run something with Sand Rush for double speed in the sand, which is much more proactive. Sand Force is a strange ability choice that is definitely worse than base form Garchomp's ability of Rough Skin, which is just useful in most games, punishing enemies for making contact with a bit of chip damage. Part of Garchomp's excellence is due to its potency as a stealth rock setter, that also has this good offensive speed benchmark and can output good damage on top of that. It's one of the best stealth rock setters in the game's history. You set stealth rock on turn 1, and Garchomp usually equips some item to help it live incoming hits or shield against incoming status moves, like a Lumberry or a Yachi Berry to reduce ice damage, or a Focus Sash to just always live from full health. The item slot is very important for Garchomp, so having to run a Mega Stone is quite a detriment, actually, and makes Garchomp less effective at what it does best. Mega Garchomp is just not worthwhile to use on an OU team when base form Garchomp is nearly good enough and has some advantages over the original. Plus, Mega Garchomp would hog the Mega slot and deny your team from running something good like Lopunny or Mega Medicham. So Mega Garchomp is a rare Mega Evolution worse than its base form, which is a bit of a disappointment, isn't it, for such a fantastic Pokemon to actually have a Mega worse than its original state. I personally find Mega Steelix to be a bit of a disappointment. Maybe some of you disagree, but I don't think that this Mega played to the strengths of the original Pokemon, nor was it much of an improvement. The original Steelix already has a monstrous base defense stat of 200, and Mega Steelix only increases that stat by 30 extra points. It's still an incredible defense stat, and the increase is appreciated, but all things considered, it's not that much of an increase. The biggest stat increase for Mega Steelix is its attack, which is now 125 base, a very good attack stat. And the increase to special defense up to 95 is also appreciated. But this Pokemon did not really solve any of the problems that Steelix is already facing. Steelix's enormous defense stat is not really doing it any favors when its actual defensive practicality is quite poor. It doesn't have healing, it doesn't have a powerful defensive ability. Generally, it has incredible competition from other steel and ground types and doesn't do anything better than those. An attack increase on Mega Steelix is appreciated to make the Pokemon more proactive, but this is not exactly a fantastic bulky attacker in practice either. It's very slow. And the slight increase in special defense does not do it any favors. Its physical attacking options also feel limited. It's easily walled by common Pokemon, still, even with the attack increase. And its ability choice is also bizarre. Mega Steelix also received Sand Force to increase its damage output of steel, ground, and rock type moves in Sandstorm. Running Mega Steelix on a sand team just seems such a momentum sink. This slow, awkward Pokemon trying to get extra value out of its stab damage in the Sandstorm is not realistic. It's a lot of setup to just be walled by many of the same things it already is probably going to be walled by. And of course, Mega Steelix is already competing with Excadrill as a ground steel type that is not a Mega, that is already very effective at being a Stealth Rock setter, a Rapid Spinner, and an offensive threat, with higher speed and just better tools to function competitively. You're already competing with that to begin with, but now to try to compete with that as a sand abuser is absurd. Excadrill is known for its ability Sand Rush to double its speed in the sand. And how could you fit Excadrill and Mega Steelix on a team, both the same typing, but one not even requiring a Mega Stone? Plus Excadrill even has Sand Force, which is worse than Sand Rush, but still better than Mega Steelix, if you had to come down to it. I don't think this Pokemon works in concept at all. I love Steelix as a candidate for a new Mega, but this one doesn't really fix any of the base form's problems. Perhaps they should have leaned more into the defensive side somehow, or chosen some other ability that actually achieves something. Sand Force is basically like having no ability, because in practice it's just not realistic to try to get Sand Force value out of Mega Steelix. I do like its visual design though, I didn't mention that. I like the weird debris orbiting around it. I think that's a pretty fun visual choice. But I don't really like its in-game traits or stat buffs. I believe that Mega Houndoom could have been so much more. And Mega Houndoom is almost amazing. This is a Mega that had real potential, but I think that they squandered it. Mega Houndoom's stat increases are good, I'll say that right off the bat. It has an increased speed and special attack, up to 115 speed, which is very good, and 140 base special attack, also very good. But they've gone and done it again here. They've given this an ability that isn't even as good as its base form's ability. Base form Houndoom has Flash Fire, which you can't go wrong with. It's on so many fire types, but it's usually good. It grants a fire immunity and a boost to fire type damage if struck. But they went and they gave Mega Houndoom Solar Power instead. Solar Power grants your Pokemon 1.5x special attack in the sun, but you also take some chip damage in the sun, 1/8 of your HP every single turn. There is some potential here, I sort of see the vision. This is a fire type, so it has fire type stab, boosted by sun on a sun team, and then further boosted by solar power. Plus it's pretty fast. You could see this being a pretty good sun abuser. Unfortunately though, the chip damage is so devastating for this Pokemon that is already so vulnerable to chip damage, with rock weakness, subtracting 25% of its health on the way in, plus the way that it invites in Tyranitar, who resets the weather anyway, removing the solar power boost, and then resists both of your stab types. In Gen 6 and 7 when Mega Houndoom exists, Sun is generally just not that good, partly because it is so vulnerable to Stealth Rock and you have to run so many fire types, so Mega Houndoom doesn't really help, and will probably make that problem worse, adding another fire type to the mixture. The best way to use this is not even on a sun team actually. You just use it as a fast dark fire type special attacker and pretend it has no ability, which is a shame, because if it just kept Flash Fire that would at least be useful. What's really messed up is that if you get the Flash Fire boost in base form Houndoom and then you Mega Evolve, you lose it. You lose that Flash Fire attack boost to your fire damage, which is unfortunate. I suppose this one's not as disappointing as previously mentioned one, because the idea is not terrible. I can see where they were going with it, and this is certainly better than giving Sand Force to Steelix, for example, and trying to do weather synergy. This could work in the minds of the designers, I'm sure. Unfortunately, in practice, it just wasn't that good. And the Pokemon was mostly just used for its stats and typing rather than its ability. Which is always a shame when a Mega feels like it doesn't have an ability effectively. Now, some of you might disagree with me for this one, but I personally think that Mega Abomasnow is a bit of a disappointment. This is sort of the inverse problem to the previous examples. Many of the examples I've listed here had a good ability to begin with in their base form, and then the Mega gets a bad ability. And if they just kept the same ability, the Pokemon would have been so much better. In this case, I wish that Mega Abomasnow got a different ability instead of keeping the same one. Mega Abomasnow just also has Snow Warning, and you already set Snow Warning with base form Abomasnow, so most of the time this just doesn't achieve anything upon Mega Evolving. Now, there is a circumstance where maybe they switch in a weather setter and then you Mega Evolve and reset Snow, or Hail, sorry, in Gen 6 and 7, which I suppose is interesting, but that doesn't come up that often, and most of the time it's just not an ability, it's just the same Pokemon. So Mega Abomasnow is just a glorified stat increase for base form Abomasnow. The increased bulk feels like a waste here because you're a damn ice grass type and you're weak to everything under the sun, so what good is a 105 special defense when you die to Charmander using the move Ember or something? The offensive stat increases are nice. 132 in both attack and special attack, some good mixed attacking stats. But this guy's so slow and so vulnerable to every type on the planet. Mega Abomasnow does not solve any of the problems that base Abomasnow suffers from. And I feel as if base Abomasnow is better because you can put the Snow Rock on it and have longer lasting Hail if you're running a Hail team. Mega Abomasnow just takes the Mega slot, you Mega Evolve and die anyway. You might do some more damage if you are lucky enough to survive, but I don't know. The things that you wall with Abomasnow would be walled anyway because of typing. The increased bulk is not that imperative to this fella's existence, and it's probably better to just not spend the Mega slot, I think. Now, Hail isn't good enough for that to even be a consideration in the first place, but it's just unfortunate that the Mega isn't helping out either. That's quite regrettable. I know that many Mega evolutions just have the same traits as the base form, and are glorified stat buffs, like Scizor and Tyranitar. And I don't love those Megas either, but Abomasnow feels disappointing because I think it may have needed something else. This is a case where you could have done something different to possibly imbue some life into a Pokemon that was starting to suffer in modern gens, and they didn't really do anything. I know that setting Hail is part of its identity too. Maybe they could have made it fast instead, or why not change its ability to something else? It sets Hail, and then Mega Evolves to get Slush Rush. That would have been fun. Why not? It's possible that I'm being a bit of a hater here. I don't know what public perception is of Mega Abomasnow. I view it as one of the more forgettable Megas that no one really talks about. I don't see much Mega Abomasnow discourse, and I think that's for a reason. Now, even though the ZA Megas do not have abilities yet, I think that there are two I can talk about that I can safely say are disappointing, at least in my opinion. Hopefully I will be proven incorrect and they get Wonder Guard or something insane. Now that wouldn't be very good either, would it? That would be too powerful. But regardless, I'll talk about these two candidates that I believe are disappointments from the new game. The first being Mega Glimmora. Right off the rip, I think that this was a bad candidate for a Mega Evolution for many reasons. The first reason is that it's already a good Pokemon by itself. It doesn't need the help. And also, Glimmora is a Pokemon that heavily relies on its item slot. With a Focus Sash, it can live incoming hits and set its hazards, or get a mortal spin-off or a crucial attack. With a Choice Scarf, it can achieve a valuable speed benchmark. With a Power Herb, it can execute Meteor Beam in one turn for a special attack boost for an aggressive set. Without an item slot, this Pokemon is so much worse, and of course to Mega Evolve you need to hold the damn Mega Stone. So I don't think this was a good choice to begin with for a new Mega. And I don't think that the stat increases on this will do it many favors. The most notable stat increase is the 150 special attack, which is very good. But the increases to bulk, I think, are not really helpful. What good is a higher defense stat when your times 4 weak to ground anyway? I think that you'll still be under fire from many of the same common attacks, and that this bulk is not even very much higher than the base forms, nor is it likely to make much of a difference. And this Pokemon is a 101 speed stat. A nice improvement over the original, but not as fast as other offensive Megas like Mega Alakazam, who has better special attack and better speed. I would predict that this will not be a great Mega Evolution, but it really does depend on the ability. Maybe it gets a more doubles-focused ability as a Mega, since in its current base state, Glimmora is a very singles-coded Pokemon, setting toxic spikes on the field when struck, and also often being used as an aggressive hazard-setting lead, which is more of a singles Pokemon archetype. Maybe the Mega has something doubles related. I'm not even sure exactly what that would be, but perhaps. The proposed ability in the Showdown fan format, ZAOU, is Levitate, and I guess Mega Glimmora is levitating, so it would make some sense, and it would patch up the ground weakness. Even still, I don't think that Mega Glimmora is that popular in this format with Levitate on it. Still not as viable as other Mega options available, unfortunately. We'll see if I get proven wrong, but I personally don't think it looks good for Mega Glimmora. And finally, I believe that Mega Scovillain is a massive disappointment. Base form Scovillain was struggling with its existence. It's a Pokemon that seems like a middle stage, that would have much rather had a new evolution in a future game, but now that's probably off the table because it instead received this new Mega that isn't even that fantastic. Mega Scovillain has the same speed stat, the same HP stat, and some of the worst spent bonus stats ever, with plus 20 to its defense and special defense, up to a whopping 85 each. Goodness gracious. You will now be living everything. No, you won't. For goodness sake, 40 stats down the incinerator they've thrown it. With 65 base HP and 85 in the defenses, you're still gonna die to like everything you already died from. This is not good bulk. You definitely should have spent those stats elsewhere. The rest of the stats are granted to the attack and special attack, which are now 138. Not bad, but not great either by the standards of a Mega. I mean, honestly, if this was what Scovillain's evolution looked like, and it was just a Pokemon that didn't require a Mega Stone, I think even that would not be that great. These stats are not fantastic in modern Pokemon. I think this Pokemon would have a lot of problems. So for this to also be a Mega, meaning there's a commitment to running it, you can only run one per team, is just a travesty. This is a horrendous Mega, all around. Now, I will say that the ZAOU format gave this a really cool ability choice, which is thematically kind of appropriate and would be something at least. They gave it Contrary, which is an ability that inverts stat stage changes. So if you lose stats, you gain them instead. And Mega Scovillain has Stab Leaf Storm and Stab Overheat, which both benefit from Contrary. That might be enough to push Mega Scovillain into some sort of relevance, if this is what it gets in a future game. And it sort of makes sense that the two heads are, one is flaming and one is nature-based, and fire and grass are opposite. They are contrary to one another. But somehow I doubt that they would do something so tasteful and so cool, and they would probably just also give this chlorophyll, or something even worse, like healer. They'll probably give it healer. That would be fitting, wouldn't it? And then it will probably be doomed to unviability. Even with Contrary, I think this would have a lot of problems, actually. Just being so slow and frail, but it would at least have some incredibly powerful options, elevating its movesets. I'm not so sure that will happen, though, and I would predict that Mega Scovillain will be a disappointment. And folks, I know I said that I was only going to talk about two, but I just remembered one that was so forgettable that I didn't even recall that it existed until a burst of information from my mind just illuminated the truth to me. I totally forgot about Mega Pyroar, for goodness sake. Pyroar certainly needed something. This Pokemon was dead on arrival back when it came out. An incredibly average normal fire type that doesn't do anything distinct whatsoever, really. So when they had the opportunity to imbue some new life into this unfortunate lion, what have they done? They've done little. The visual design is terrible. What if Pyroar had some more hair? That's extreme nothing. They're not even discernible. I sometimes can't even tell the difference between the two forms. That's not a good sign. The typing is the same, and we don't know the ability, but the stats are not it. The stats are not great on this. It still has dreadful bulk. Its speed is higher. 126 speed is good, but 129 special attack I don't think is going to be enough to save the life of this unfortunate jungle dweller. I don't think that this will be enough. In ZAOU they gave it the ability Drought. I suppose they could do that, potentially, but as good as Drought is, wouldn't you rather just run Ninetales because it doesn't consume the Mega slot, and it's not even that much worse than this guy? Plus it can run a Heat Rock to extend the sun turns. I mean, even if this got Drought, which is one of the best abilities you can get, that would be a great outcome. I still think it would stink. I still think it would be terrible. I would in fact declare that Mega Pyroar is the worst Mega ever created. I forgot it existed until only a couple of minutes ago. Everything about this guy is lazy and unremarkable and unimpressive. And I bet its ability is just going to be Moxie or something stupid. They're not even going to bother to give this a good ability. It's probably just going to be some ability Pyroar already has that achieves nothing for it. That's my prediction for you, is that this will get Moxie or Rivalry or something, and it will be ranked in the NU tier, at most. And there you go, folks, that's my opinion on the most disappointing Megas ever created. Was I being too negative here? Is Mega Abomasnow actually a rare moment of game design brilliance and a masterpiece? Am I stupid? It's possible. It's possible that everything I've said in this video is incorrect. And Mega Glimmora will actually end up being a metagame defining force, the likes of which we have never seen. I hope that reality comes to pass. I do hope so. But what do you think, folks? Agree or disagree with what I've said here? What are your personal beliefs on disappointing Megas? And what would you like me to talk about next? Let me know down below in the comments, and thank you for watching.